Good morning, good afternoon, good night, exam soft takers. My name is Mick Coyne. I am the Director of Technology here at Massachusetts School of Law, and this video is intended to give you a quick tutorial on how you use the toolkit here in ExamSoft, as well as the highlighting and outlining features. Now here we are in the Exemplify portal. Just like you start your exam, you want to make sure that you're authorized to start your exam. What you'll notice on a secure exam is that it'll start the session for recording the gestures. Here's our first question, and in the very top right-hand corner, in my screen might be blocking this, but in the very top right-hand corner, what you'll notice is in a dark blue ribbon, you'll see a toolkit. When you click that toolkit, what happens is the right-hand side panel opens up. Now, for law school takers, what you're going to see is just the two basic tools that the Massachusetts bar examiners are allowing bar takers to use, which is the highlight function as well as the notes function. It is in this notes function where you would start to outline an answer. It's in this toolkit here in tools where you're going to change the highlight color depending on what you would like to highlight or pay particularly close attention to when you read your question. In the event students need to exit the exam room, students can choose to hide their exam. To complete this action, tap on the exam controls, and what you want to be able to see here, the most important thing is that the words that you would like to highlight, all you have to do is click the color and change the highlighting color depending on what type of meaning you'd like to give it. The other nice thing about this toolbox is it does tell you how much time is remaining in the exam. It's here on the top ribbon, 28 seconds, but it also is here on the right-hand side under tools. The nice thing is let's say you want to give yourself a 15-minute cushion. So you can review your exam and make sure that everything the professor is looking for is located in your essay or inside of your exam submission. So I want this to occur before the end of the exam, not for 15 minutes from now, which you could use for other purposes. But let's say I just want to give my exam one quick, thorough rereading before I hit the submission. 15 minutes should give me enough time to do that. I create that alarm. Now I've got the time remaining in the exam plus the amount of time in the alarm, which is nice. And again, this last one here is just the automatic 5-minute warning. I can adjust the text size if I'd like. I can make it smaller if I want to see it all in one view. I can make it bigger if I'm having difficulty seeing it because I'm on a small screen. But what's also important here is that you note this left-hand column. It'll let us know whether or not our questions have been answered. You'll notice that I haven't picked an answer yet, but I've decided which ones I would like to eliminate. When the exam is hidden, what does the blue icon prompt the student to do? Quit exam, end exam, resume. I'm going to click resume. I'm going to hit next. Now, because I've completed that question, it fills in the circle blue, just like it would on a Scantron. As long as the question is not done, like for example, how I just skipped question 2, what you'll notice is that now this circle is not filled. However, the one that I'm working on is lit up in blue. This is an example of a fill in the blank question in Exemplify. Complete the following sentence. ExamSoft's testing platform is for students. For students is called Exemplify. Answer the question. I can click next. I have to make sure that when I click that my answer has actually been filled in. Flag this question using the flagging feature in Exemplify. Now, question 4 brings up the function of flagging a question. Now, this is a question that I don't know the answer to right now. I'm about to lose my time. And what I want to do is I want to come back to this question at some point later on. That way, when I'm at the end of the exam during that 15-minute window I've created for myself, I can come back to question 4. And here it is right there in my side view. So I know that question 4 is one that I really want to come back to. Question 2, same situation, because I know that I'm missing it and I need to make sure that I fill it in. Maybe I'll go back and flag it so I don't forget about it later on. Now, this is a good place to practice the strikeout option. Let's say that I'm convinced that B is the correct answer. I'm going to pick B. I want to make sure that I see that turn into a little green check mark. The answers that I don't think I'm going to use, see, I hit it, I put it right on the line, so I don't see that answer. And generally, this is the equivalent of you taking your pen and writing right through A when you read that answer. Okay, that's not responsive to the call of the question. A's gone. Now I'm stuck with between B, C, and D. At some point, you make the determination that your answer is between B and C. Then you just eliminate D. That leaves you between C and B. So again, we know that it stinks not being able to use pen and paper, but ExamSoft has built in some of these tools, such as the highlighter or the cross through feature here for answers, to kind of take up for what types of marks you might make with a pen, or the types of comfortability that you have, and habits that you have with pen and paper. Students can use a zooming feature to make question stem text either smaller or larger. Again, that's there in the toolkit right under tools. You can adjust that text size on this nice little slider that ExamSoft has in the right hand corner. We're going to pick I got it. Even though we all might need more practice, I think that you guys got that one. There are two different ways to get through questions here in ExamSoft. One, like we just talked about, is using this navigation feature in the left-hand panel to get to and from questions. The other way that you get through questions is just by hitting next. If you're done with that question, you can hit next. Even if you don't answer that question, you can hit next. But again, we want to pay attention to this left-hand column, because what it's doing is it's giving us the visual that we need, that we usually get from Scantron pages, where it shows us that we filled the bubble and answered the question, or when we left a question blank, we need to go back and finish it. In this instance, the exam is completely incomplete. I've left a lot of blank answers, but at the same time, I am just doing this for the purposes of training. So let's say I have completely finished all of my answers and every single one of these is blue. I'm going to go back to the exam and make sure that I select answers. Now let's just go through a quick sample outline in Note Session. I'm going to download the exam that I am going to take today, which is contracts. This, in this instance, is a non-secure exam, so I'm able to share what happens during this exam. But again, during this portion, this is where they're going through the security features in the secure exam and doing the baseline. I'm going to enter this exam. I've been instructed to enter this exam. I'm authorized to start. I'll start. And the first thing that I'm going to do is, again, try to take a look through this exam. General contractor, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, 5 multiple choice questions, and then finally an essay question. So this is the one that I really like to work with, just for the sake of giving the toolkit some practice. So the first thing that I want to do here is I want to open up that toolkit, and I want my notes section, because this is where I'm going to put my outline. So the first thing that I want to do when I'm going through this fact pattern is I want to be able to kind of spot the issues. The most important thing here is that I know what's going on and I know what the problems are between the parties. Make sure that I have a highlighter selected that I like. I like green. Lemaitre, a non-union engineer, began his employment with the authority on February 9th. And again, you have to be careful that I want to be able to read that question aloud. I'm sitting here in my room. I am by myself. I want to just read this question aloud so I can really get a sense for what's happening here. But I have to be careful because the ExamSoft Proctor AI sees me mouthing words and it thinks that I'm talking to somebody in the room. Now, it's not ideal, but again, because this is the preferred software for the bar exam, we need to be able to train our students on this software and the conditions that this software and this exam tend to be taken under. All right, so I have to sit here and I have to basically read it silently, which again, very, very challenging. And here we've got the outline pretty much completed at this point. Now, here's the trick. When you're in a situation where you're highlighting in green, you're highlighting in red, you're highlighting in a different color, if all of a sudden you find yourself about to highlight too much, you want to just drag that cursor right off of the exam page and click. That releases that highlight, so you don't end up with a situation where you're trying to just scroll down, and instead of scrolling down, you're highlighting, because you're not going to be able to um, go backwards and tell that then that you don't want that highlighted. The best you're going to be able to do is click the clear highlighting option and then just make sure that you grab it all and go backwards. Same thing over here. I want to go back and get rid of this. I don't want all of this because what I really know is important is that there's two agreements. I've got this agreement that is a 1970 agreement where you get both benefits, and then you've got the 1996 agreement, which changes whether or not the employees, the retirees, get this benefit. In the 1970s, they get both benefits. In 1996, they only get the one benefit, the cash benefit. And what I've done is I've kind of highlighted these things in call response fashion. I'm going to basically just go through this again and clear all the highlighting and start from scratch on the highlighter. So let's just quickly go through this. Now, remember, during the exam, you're not able to talk to yourself or it'll get flagged by the AI. So let's say, for instance, I'm thinking all of this in my head, but I'm just going to read through the salient parts with you. A non-union engineer began his employment on the authority February 9th, 1975. Okay, good. He started in 1975. Is that important? Probably. He retired on 2000 in 2018. Okay, so pretty large gap there, right? We're dealing with about 30, 40 years worth of service. He was an exceptional employee, very rarely took any sick leave. But and here's a good thing to pay attention to. All but the 1996 policy directive indicate that the new procedures supersede the previous ones. So essentially, this 1996 policy, you can see that it's already become at issue here. So the first thing I wanted to do is put this 1996 policy. Now it's evolved to policy eliminates the medical benefit because we've done a little bit more reading on that. Okay, now let's see where we ended up. What we ended up doing was we highlighted the important and salient information, like when he started work, when he ended work, and then the policy that basically changes the rules for these employees. We've got the first provision and the second provision. The difference is the first provision is medical benefit, second provision, cash provision. And then we see that in 1996, we've got that elimination of the medical benefit. That's here in our outline. So here are all the major things that we've been able to transfer from our first read with the highlight over here into our outline for the question issues. Is Lemaitre entitled to the 1979 agreement amount or the 1996 agreement amount? This case is now here on the authority's appeal. There might be some appeal issues. You want to make sure that you have the correct standard for that claims. Again, we know that Lemaitre is suing for breach of employment contract, right? Here in this instance, we know that he was paid $25,636,000 for the 403 sick days. The problem is that in his opinion, based on the amount of years he worked and how few days of work he missed, I believe it was something like 14 and a half days over 28 years. Essentially, he's suing for that breach of contract, trying to recover the monies that he would have been due under the 1979 agreement. Again, all that information we've got here listed in our outline. 75, the medical benefit was 25% of that accrued sick leave. In 79, that medical benefit was 50% of that accrued sick leave. In 1996, they shut off the medical benefit entirely. And again, those are the salient and most important facts. When he retired in 2018, he got compensated at a rate of 20%, which was provided by the 1996 agreement, way less than the 50% that he would have when he started working there. But again, the issue here is whether that breach of contract award is going to stand on appeal. So we know that he was awarded $82,000 for all the sick leave accrual. And then what you're supposed to do then is then in this space answer that question. But the first things that you want to do are what we just did, which is the hard outline. right here in the note section on the right-hand corner, which is basically a restatement of everything that you've highlighted here. You're going to find the important and salient facts here in the fact pattern. You're going to highlight them. You're going to transfer them over to the note section, and then organize those. So you have issues here at the top, claims, and then agreements, right? Because we know that the claims are going to be based on the structure and the enforceability of these agreements, and then whether or not anything funky, like a modification or a material alteration, or in this instance, this 96 benefit policy that supersedes the previous ones. All that stuff is important. We want to make sure we get that here in our outline. So when we start writing, we have all the information at our fingertips right here in our scratch paper. So that just about does it for the Exemplify tutorial. If you have questions, if you want to set up an individual appointment, please don't hesitate to email or contact me. My email address is mick@mslaw.edu. We're planning to hopefully do a small drop-in session this week or next. But in addition to these videos that Dan and I have created for you, there are also videos that have been produced by Exemplify and by other colleges like Tufts that has a really, really great video that walks you through the practice quiz that you guys all took a couple weeks prior to your first midterm. So again, any questions, concerns, you can email me at mick@mslaw.edu, and we will do our best to help you with any struggles that you have with this software. Thanks and good luck on your next test.